everyone. It's a bit of a mammoth one today, but before we start, I just want to say I hope you're well, and I also hope that you're looking after yourself. I hope that you are just getting to do things that nourish you. Well, we're going to need to get on now because there's quite a bit to get through today. Today is a mammoth one in terms of I've got fabric shopping, sew upcycle outcomes to show you, finish that whips to show you. So grab a coffee, grab yourself a project or whatever it is you want to do and snuggle in, because this is going to be it for the week for you, because next weekend the one coming after this vlog, is Jess's wedding. If you don't know who Jess is, she is So What If I Sew, and she is my podcast buddy and my friend, and I'm off to her wedding. And on the Friday before, I'm off to Birmingham to the Creative Crafts and Sewing for Pleasure show, where I'm meeting some friends. And so I've decided to give you this bumper middle of the week episode, and then we'll be back to normal next week. So yeah, get ready, because we'll crack on through everything. I've got lots to tell you about. Start with what I'm wearing. I have on an infinity scarf that looks like it's part of the top, but you can leave it on and off. This is a Tilly and the Buttons Stella jumper, and I have on the matching joggers. Can I get my leg in the air for you? There you go. So I've got the full works on. Some people might think it's a pair of pajamas. For me though, this is a perfect snuggly work at home outfit, and just underneath a second-hand roll neck, so I'm just snuggly. And this is fleece backed, this fabric as well. Sadly, the company who made I got this fabric from don't exist anymore. It used to be Flamingo Fabrics. They only do, I think, custom prints now or something. So let's start with some fabric shopping. Now, every now and again I buy from Grid Fabrics. Grid Fabrics is where I've bought some of my little jolly fabrics from before, but I am a frugal shopper, so I like to wait for sale, and they've got an excellent sale on right now. So I purchased 3 items. One item was a remnant, and it was this gorgeous one. They've got this in various colourways. All I can say really is it's a grumpy cat / leopard. He's got a right old grumpy face, and it's a knit fabric, so it looks like this on the back. And it's not a very wide fabric, I would say, but I think I got, it's probably about 1.2 1.5 meters, and so I thought it'd work really well in with like some navy or some mustard on the sleeve, or like in a Bertha cardigan, like in the panels. So I was happy to grab this as a remnant. As I say, it was in various colourways, so if you do like it, whip over to Grid Fabrics, because I'm sure they've got it in some other colourways left. Then I picked up, like I like to do, an item ready for next spring summer, and it was this Grid Indian cotton, and it's like this lovely terracotta, nice thickness of fabric for summer trousers, tops, dresses. I was thinking maybe even like a co-ord in this. So I buy things when they're out of season sometimes, because you get a good price, and this was in the sale, and I think it was something like £5 a metre or something. And then sorry, just a minute there. And then I picked up, get in a muddle, this, which is a viscose. Gotta love a viscose, and it's by Rachel Parker for Dashwood Studios. Gotta love Dashwood. Sorry, upside down, for Dashwood Studios. Gotta love theirs. It's got a really nice slinky feel, but yet I can tell by the back it's not going to slip on the sewing machine. And I thought it was a really lovely sort of, sorry about that, lovely wintry pattern, sort of print. So I thought I would make just a lovely top to, I've got a skirt in this colour, a skirt in this colour, and I'm planning to make some trousers in that sort of colour. So I just thought it's a perfect, probably going to do a Romy lantern sleeve in this, or some other similar nice long sleeve top, so you can put it over a roll neck. So if I make it big enough, it'll fit over a roll neck, wear on its own, or with like a jacket over the top. And I just do like a seasonal print. It feels very much like a sort of wintry print, doesn't it? So that was some Grid Fabrics. And then Fabrics Galore. Now Fabrics Galore, their delivery is always excellent, so if you Fabrics was too, but if you are ever needing something quite urgently, Fabrics Galore is definitely one I would recommend. And I was on the lookout for a printed sort of twill fabric, and I like a bit of stretch to a twill if you can get one. And I'd seen one somewhere else, so I was doing a Google Lens search and it came up on Fabrics Galore. So let's start with this. Here it is. So it's a nice sort of green, it's got a lovely sort of feel to it. And I believe, if I remember the instructions correctly, yeah, it's got a bit of stretch. Has it got more stretch the other way? No, it's got a bit of stretch to it. I've got the thingy here. Stretch cotton twill, khaki green leopard print, and I got 2 meters. Is that £8.50? No, that must be per meter. So anyway, very happy with that. Can't wait to make a pair of trousers. It would make a lovely skirt as well, actually, wouldn't it? So it's definitely a bottom half of me. It would make a nice jacket too. A bottom half, either trousers or skirt in this, because I felt that it would go with lovely like reds, oranges, blues, greens, all those autumnal colours. And I thought it's like a plain but not a plain, as we know for animal print. So that was my reason to purchase. So I had a look in their remnant section as well, and I picked up this bit of fleece. It's 75 centimeters. Get ready for the colour, cheese puff. It is the colour of a what's it, or what are they called in the US? I can't remember. They make your fingers orange, don't they? I thought this would make a lovely lining to something like a boucle with this on the inside, or just a fun like inside to like these infinity scarves. But 75 centimeters, £5, that's a good little thing to have in the stash, particularly this time of year. And just checking, and I picked up one other thing, which was a cotton elastane jersey, and the pattern is described as acid dotty, and I got 1.5 meters of this. I mean, look at that. That's just fabulous. So I already know that's going to be like a Tilly and the Buttons Freya, like a roll necky top like this. Because just imagine that under a pink cardigan, blue, green. It's just joyous, isn't it? I mean, just look, just take a minute. The flowers on here are fabulous. They did have it in another colourway. Let me just tell you who's made it. Oh, it's a Stoff one. Stoff do fabulous. So it's an Alvalana jersey by Stoff Fabrics. I mean, how could I not? So there you go. So I always have a little look. If I'm buying something, I'll have a look at the remnants and things like that as well. So of the purchases, there's only 2 that I'm not 100% on, but that's pretty good going for me, because I do, as you know, I do try to shop intentionally. Didn't usually want to, but with Birmingham coming up this weekend, but it is what it is. So shall we, bear with me, so shall we do whips, finishing my works in progress, or sew upcycle? Let's start with whips, because they'll be a bit whippier, a bit quicker. So the good news is, and I will leave a bit of space here, the good news is the rainbow dress is finished. I shamed myself on the video. So I put poppers on, because I can do this over my head. So they do pop, but I'm unlikely to use that often because it goes over my head. I finished the cuffs and I hemmed it. So it's all done. I'll put a picture in of me wearing it. The dress pattern I used was the patina blouse for the top, but hacked in a yoke that didn't exist. A yoke existed on the back, but I hacked it into a V shape on the back, added in this green bias binding as like a thing, and here on the shoulders and here at the front as well. So yeah, picture it in there. So I'm delighted that that's finished, because now I can enjoy wearing it. It's the perfect time of year for this weight of fabric. I also finished, which is officially an Upcycle 2, which was a denim shirt that I bought from a charity shop last winter and wanted to do it then as a waistcoat and didn't, and I'd cut it out partially with the sleeves off, but I've done it. So what I've done is I've added a gross grain ribbon to the inside of the armhole so that I can leave that feature on there. I've shortened it, so I've taken it up, I took in the sides a little bit so that there was a bit more shape, because obviously it was a shirt so it hung looser. So you can see here where I've gone down and gone whoop in, so I haven't trimmed that off yet because I might go in a little bit more, just got to wear it a bit and find out. And then I used some of the fabric that I cut off to make bias binding to go around the neckline. Now I ummed and ahed about sloping it more like a waistcoat, but actually when I was putting it on I quite like the high neckness of it as opposed to a traditional waistcoat. So if I put it on, I'll show you what I mean. First of all, you could just have it open, but can you see how I just like the way it comes right up there? I like that look of that sort of higher. It's nice to have things with different shapes, isn't it? So I think I get too warm with too many layers on. So yeah, really pleased. That is finished. So it's quite a straightforward thing. If you find a shirt you like but you want it more as a vest or a waistcoat, sleeves off is the first start. Might need to like bring the whole side in and recut your armhole, or you know, bring that in a bit if it's too big on the sides. Then it's deciding on your neckline, apologies for all the threads, and then making your own bias binding with the fabric can be a good way to keep it all in, and chopping it off where you want it. And you could slope that, curve that, but I wanted it quite straight. So there we go. Other whips was this dress that I hadn't finished. The good news is I have now finished it, so I can start wearing this. And I've understitched all under the collar to keep the facing in, and stitched all the way down the lines here. I sorted out the issue at the front, so it's all good to go and ready to be worn now. That was literally the only thing I needed to do on that. So embarrassing, isn't it? I also finished this one, which needed something done to the sleeve. So this is inside out at the moment. So this was an age 12 to 13-year-old Marks and Spencer's jumper that did not fit me as a jumper, but as soon as I took the sleeves off and opened the arm cycle slightly, it was a perfect, again, sort of throw on vest. So the first thing I did was overlocked because it's a knit, I overlocked the edges. It wasn't unraveling, but I overlocked them, and then I folded them in, and I used a zigzag stitch, which you can't even see because it disappears in here, to bring the edge inside. And I felt by doing a zigzag stitch it would pick up the thread over the threads then. Now at the moment it's got a bit of a wave to this, but I think with a press and a wash I think it's going to be fine. And also it is designed to go over like a blouse or something like that, so that's going to sort of work with that anyway. A bit of a theme here with these, isn't there? And I did finish both the Donny shirts. Don't know where they've gone, but the two Donny shirts, I did finish them. I hemmed them, I fixed that awful hem at the bottom of one of them, and I finished that other top too. So this is one of the times when actually I really like a challenge, is when it reminds me to focus on something that I'm forgetting about. I don't like a challenge when it's challenge for challenge sake, because I don't do that if I don't want to wear something. But I'd already planned that denim waistcoat, and I wasted last winter not wearing it. So I'm glad that it gave me the push to get the dreaded box out, which lives on top. The box has gone back now because I feel like I've exorcised those demons and I don't want to look at it for a bit. It was beginning to annoy me. I went through and did as many as I could, but I'm like, no, I'm done now. that needs to just go away. But that box didn't just contain some whips, it did contain some upcycled fabric and things I wanted to do. So let's start with some shirts that I shared with you. And this is the green shirt, and I had a jumper which I didn't share with you that had this amazing plique on it, and I didn't wear the jumper anymore, and I kept holding on to it, and I realized it was because of this. And I began to realize that sometimes I hold on to things that I won't wear because I love something about them, and I need to find a way to harness that. So I carefully cut these out and I have re-stitched them onto this new item that is made entirely of upcycled items. So this is upcycled from an old jumper, this is upcycled from a shirt, the inside is upcycled from a shirt, that's the stitching of the leaves, which I actually like in the green because I like seeing it. The lining in the middle between the two shirts is a tablecloth that had been my nan's that was got stains on it that although it had been washed lots of times they wouldn't go, so that's the sandwich in the middle. And then the buttons are ones that my mum had cut off something and kept. They don't match, but they're very similar theme. So nothing on here apart from the thread is new. I have one last bit that I really want to do, which is to put some, I think, some velvet bias binding on the sleeves. So I've overlocked them for now, and I'm sure you'll forgive me that bit. But here it is in all its glory. Thank you to people who commented on Instagram and said they liked the asymmetricness of the leaves. I am really pleased with this. I managed to use the yoke from the shirt on the back, on the inside as well. I was able to do it almost entirely without piecing bits. It was just on one side. I had to add a little piece. I can't even remember where, you can't even tell. So I added a little piece to make the back piece wide enough. I based this on the Great British Sewing Bee quilted jacket pattern and just used the two front pieces and the back piece. And I'm very happy with it. I'll pop it on over the jumper. It's not really designed for that, it's more for shirts, but I will put a picture of me in styling it up because I love a bit of styling it up. There you go. So I'm just really into like my autumnal like fabrics, the feel and the colours, just the vibe. I'm just into that right now. I've only done the 2 buttons because I just feel often with this sort of thing you don't want too many buttons. There you go, so I stand up. It is quite short, but I like it short because then when I'm sat down it's not getting in the way, but also if you've got a dress coming out underneath it's not getting in the way of that. There is a huge vest / waistcoat theme going on with this, isn't there? I started on that last year and I just didn't get through it. So I'm glad I did. So next upcycle is the tablecloth that I shared with you some time ago. And if you've watched my holiday week in the life me made one styling, you would have seen it in there, but I'll put it here. So that's got more detail in there about how I did it, but I'm really pleased with how it's turned out. I've managed to keep all the lovely design of the tablecloth, but create a nice throw on that feels fancy, love a bit of fancy, but didn't lose the integrity of like the lovely orange like edging. And that was why I'd got stuck for a while, because I didn't want to not have that nice orange edging, and I managed to use the bit I cut off as a belt as well. So I completely made that pattern up, I'm afraid to say. So I can't send you a reference anywhere for that. But if you go and watch my sewing my holiday wardrobe on the organising and planning, there is a bit at the end of there where I show sort of my process a little bit. I took the duvet cover that I showed you in the planning video, the Upcycle planning video, which was sort of I don't really think of orange as having a pastel orange. It's like a pastel terracotta geometric print, and it was like inverted on the other side of the duvet, which was great. So I took the two sides, I made the sauvie sundress, removed the pockets, so cut straight down, made a belt, used the lining of the duvet as well, added a ruffle on the bottom, and used played with the two different colorways of it. It's so almost imperceptible unless you look closely, and wore it on my holiday. So I'm really happy with how the duvet turned out. The sauvie sundress is a really nice pattern actually. I've had a bit of a struggle with putting the elastic in. We'll talk about that another time. But as a nice shaped, swishy, loose sundress, with a bit of a lining and sort of not silly thin straps and potential pockets if you want them. I don't want them. I think it's a nice pattern, and I've actually hacked it already into a top as well. So I think that a duvet cover fabric is perfect for something like that because it's got a little bit of stiffness to it, but not so much that it won't float and flow around. And actually a duvet who's been washed a few times, that works really well. Let's talk about my most mammoth upcycle, which I did share some shirts that I wanted to use to upcycle things, but I don't think I knew I was going to go to this length. In my autumn planning video, I talked about wanting to make a patchwork jumper for sitting and wearing at home when I'm working. Last weekend, I got it in my head that I just wanted to do it. I needed to scratch that itch. And sometimes you just got to have like a big explore. I didn't 100% know where this was going to go. I had a vague idea. And I think I like lots of kinds of sewing. So I like I'm going to make a Freya with that jersey, sew it, a couple of days later wear it. I want to make some matching loungewear, that sort of thing. Or I'm going to have a little go at hacking this pattern, like the rainbow dress where I took the patina blouse, left the collar off, that sort of thing. But I do think that upcycling can give you a good opportunity to have a play. And as I will keep saying, and I'm going to keep saying it to you all till you're all really bored and annoyed with me, is that it might not 100% go right, but it's okay because these fabrics weren't being used anyway. So I was like, right, I'm going to do this. So I had the leftover green fabric from the waistcoat I've just showed you and the inside fabric. I had some of the denim left, plus I had quite a few other bits of shirts and things like that. So I just started cutting them into squares. I'm going to put in some video now of some of the different stages because it's hard to sort of explain apart from to sort of share it as I went along. So I did record as I went along because once I'd cut a lot of squares, then I needed to sew them into strips, and I wanted each strip to have the squares in a different order. So I laid each set of colours out, sewed them into like long strips, and then I got in a panic and thought I wouldn't have enough, so I cut out some more. And then once I'd sewed the strips together, I needed to get the pattern out. Right, so I'm at the stage where I've taken all the little squares that I cut, which was at the beginning from the shirt. So this was a shirt, sleeves from a different upcycle. This shirt, and I cut piles of squares and then put them in different orders. So for example, you've got them in that order and then a different order, because then when you put them together you don't have that problem of the same no, that's not the same, is it? Oh, it is the same fabric being in the same place mostly, but I can flip it up the other way and see if that fixes it. Yes, it does. You will always have a little bit of, and that's not a problem, but so now I need to iron them all and trim any excess bits off the back. And then I'm going to lay them all out. I've got some that are already pressed, and then I will start joining them to make bigger pieces. So here are the pieces. Here is my pile of stitched together lines. I need to lay them to see if I have enough for each of these. I'm using the LB pullover Paper Theory piece. I don't think I've ever done the jumper the full length, so I need to look at that. I don't know that I'll want it the full length, but I now need to unfold these, lay them out, and see how far away I am from having enough pieces. And so then I laid the strips on the pattern pieces to see if they were long enough or short enough, and then worked out how many rows up I needed to stitch together. And I don't make one giant piece of fabric. What I do is make a piece big enough to cut like the back out, a piece big enough to cut the front, and then either a piece big enough to cut 2 sleeves out or 2 pieces for the sleeves. So I did that. I can't actually believe it. This is the sleeve, and I've got 2 layers on the sleeve there. This is the front, and somehow I seem to have lost something there, but that's the front doubled over, back doubled over, collar, and there's pieces left. Then cut out corresponding brushed cotton old sheet for the inside wadding, and then I cut up a vintage dress. So I am going to cut up this vintage dress. You might be like, what, why? But sometimes you've just got to accept that it's lived the life as the clothes that it is. Some of it is worn and some of the seams are worn, and so there's ample fabric in the skirt to use. I'm sure many vintage lovers out there are horrified, but I will repurpose these lovely buttons as well, and I might keep the label and put it in something, but we've got to do what we've got to do. Yes, everybody, I cut up a vintage dress. I know. So I used it for the entire inside, so all of the inside pieces were cut from that. And there's still some left, and I use it for the binding. Right, so excuse the woohoo hair, but this is what I'm like when I'm sewing. So the sandwiches have been made. So we've got the inside made out of the vintage dress, this cotton brushed a tablecloth or sheet, not sure, and then the quilted scraps, patchwork scraps. So this is the back. So I've got the whole thing now like this. So now I'm going to quilt through it a bit before I cut the final shape out, and then I've got to do it for the front, then the 2 sleeves. I haven't decided yet for the neck what I'm going to do, so I'm going to get going now. Right, okay, where's the camera? There it is. All the pieces are cut out. So here we go, look. Front or back? I think that's front. And then of course you've got that on the back. And then there's the other bit there. And the sleeve here. Now I have got the button placket from one of the shirts, and I was wondering about putting it down the sleeve like this, but I think I'm going to leave that till I've made it. I know it's a bit risky, but it'll be another load of bulk there, B, I just want to see really. So time to stitch it together, but we've got to remember there's 3 layers there, plus I'll be stitching it to 3, so it's going to be 6 layers. So I might need to change my needle. Then made some decisions about the neck, which I'm going to live with for a bit and then make my 100% final decision. I overlocked the edges before I put like the binding on that I put on, because it just keeps the sandwich of bits together easier. And I think I'm pretty happy with it. Let me show you it. So that's the vintage dress I cut up. Oh, and I took a decision to add a pocket at one point as well. There's quite a few moments of unpicking where I didn't like a square in the wrong place, or I just felt something needed a little tweak or whatever. So I was unpicking a lot on that day. So, oh, and one of the fabrics is a piece of a fabric that a colleague gave me about 10 years ago, which was from her childhood bedroom when she was in Poland. The characters on it, I think, would have given me a nightmare if I was a child. But I thought it would be a really nice way to honour her and wear them. So that's a bit of that, which is, that bit's fine. But let me just show you the character. Look at the red eyes. I don't know if anyone recognises those red eyes are a bit. And there's a very demonic looking squirrel as well. Yes, look, there's his red eye, look. But I really love it in with this. So here it is. And there's a pocket here that I decided to add on because I was really annoyed that that fabric got over twice. So I thought I'll put a pocket on it or break it up. So at the moment, the neck comes up like this, so it should be folded in and stitched in, but I'm feeling I might have to change the in a bit for like a bit of fleece or something, so I just need to live with that. You can see how I bound the end, and I just think that blue just brings out the loveliness of the bits of denim in it. Oh, there's the black corduroy in here. Where is it? The black corduroy is from those trousers that I was looking to upcycle. Well, they got cut up because I decided I'd messed around with them too many times. So there was all these in pieces. So yes, along the bottom is the binding as well. So it's like that on the inside. So that's nice and soft too. So it's not ridiculously heavy, but it is heavy. But I wanted it, and I've kept it. I shortened the LB pullover pattern by about 1 inch because I wanted it so that when I again was sat at my desk, it was coming to like where I was sitting, not getting in the way and everything and being uncomfortable. I feel like I couldn't have made it more autumnal if I tried. I have some possible thoughts that I've got. I've got the green placket from the green shirt with the button still down it. I have thought about putting that down the sleeve or as a decorative item, but I was like, I think I need to stop and wear it for a bit. But maybe like some nice like just decorative buttons stitched on. It just feels like it's a piece. This was a skirt that I couldn't wear anymore because it was just too threadbare, but look at it in here. I feel like it's a piece that almost like has lovely memories to it, and so if I've got like a lovely button that I want to just enjoy, maybe just stitching like a couple of buttons here, or I'm thinking I might even take the label from the vintage dress and stitch that somewhere like on the pocket or something. So I don't think this is the end of me doing things like that, I have to say. Oh, you can see the vintage sheet here. I put it on just the front part of the neck because I really enjoyed, see, I'm annoyed the way those two are together as well, but you know, I tried so hard not for that to happen and it just did. In fact, I think the back patchwork is slightly better than the front. It's typical, isn't it? But I'm still really happy with it. As I say, I mean, it took a long time. I was actually quite tired after doing I started on the Friday with the cutting out. On the Saturday was the stitching together, the pressing together, like stitching the squares together, the pressing, the getting it all quilted. By the end of Saturday, I was like, whoa, it's quite mammoth, like when you're quilting that all. Sunday was the stitching it together, and I finished the binding during the week. So it has been it's been quite an intense project compared to some, but I have really loved doing it. And I would strongly recommend things that you can't use in any other way. I don't know if you can hear my tummy rumbling. I'm sorry if you can. Things that you can't use in any other way, or things that you love but are smaller pieces. Making something wearable, and I know I've done a lot of quilted jackets, but I don't feel like this is the same. Making it into something wearable just means that every time you put it on, you're seeing these things and the journey and that. So yeah, I know it does feel a bit like 90s grunge, sort of like four non blondes. I don't know if anyone remembers the references I'm making, but do you know what? That was me in that time in the late 90s. I was a grunge girly, and I think I've got to check my list. Let me check. So, bit of a month October's been, hasn't it? We've finished that whip and so Upcycled, two challenges that really work for me. And you might be like, whoa. But actually, some of them, like the Donny shirt, literally took me 5 minutes, and I was just embarrassed that I'd left it all that time. And like the sleeves on that vest, 10-20 minutes. They weren't like big old projects. It was just I needed the push to just get them done. So even though the challenge is finishing, sometimes just do it is what I would say. So I think I'm going to schedule it in every now and again just to have a revisit and just have a bit of like just a buckle down and a do it. So what's coming up? I am just finishing a special coat to wear to Jess's wedding. I am now excited to do some slightly less emotionally, well, is it emotionally, like mentally draining slash demanding slash challenging things. I wanted to do the whips, and I'm glad I did. I wanted to do the upcycles because I really enjoy them, but now I'm ready just to do like a whip out this top, whip out this for a bit. So I'm looking around, you can't see, but I mean, the level of unpicking I've done lately. I showed these trousers in my last, what I've been up to. I've unpicked the whole waistband. I've done the same on that skirt. And Jenny, I think you're right. It does say 69 on that skirt, but I don't think it's meant to. And I don't think anyone apart from you and I will know. So I've unpicked the whole waistband on that. I've started stitching that together. My seam ripper has, I think I've blunted it. So it's been like really pushing myself to do things to that level that I want to. I've unpicked the cuff on a trouser because I'm not happy with the standard that I did, and it's not ruining sewing for me. There's a whole podcast episode on sewing perfectionism, but it's about me taking it to where I want it to be. And so I've been quite keenly seam ripping some things. So I've decided I want to see if I can reduce the width and at the back of the trousers, then see if I need to at the front, because I think I would like these as trousers. And it's got that lovely little coin pocket. I love those coin pockets, so I don't want to lose that. So I do think I'd like these trousers, so I'm working on that. Oh, it's one of the tops that the top I finished. There it is. There's the top I finished. It just literally needed properly stitching down the facing. Thank you to everyone's advice to this dress and me finding the thingy scratchy. I am going to do what a lot of you have said and put something over it, like a channel, Someone said a bit of jersey would be nice. That's a good idea because it would cope with the stretch a bit then, wouldn't it? Because we've got to make these things and wear the things we like. Now you might notice that I haven't got the crochet blanket upcycle to show you. I was so close. I worked out I can unpick the squares without it unravelling because someone stitched them together afterwards like you do with granny squares. I'd sort of modelled it. I think whoever suggested dress, thank you. I think I'm going to go dress because then you can just wear like black leggings or black tights, black slip or roll neck underneath. But do you know what my brain was like? I've just been saying, I've done enough mental gymnastics. Just go and sew a Freya top. So I will come back to it. But I needed a bit of a break. I love playing and I love the challenge, but I've worn that out for a bit. So I'm going to come back to that. And actually, several people have been talking about losing their sewing mojo, sojo, or not calling it that or whatever. There is a podcast episode on that as well. And I don't often get like that because I have like these different phases and different cycles of sewing. So there's like the playing phase where I'm not sure how it'll turn out. Then there's the productive phase where I'm sewing a pattern I know and I know how it's going to be. Then there's the like toiling and trying things out. So I'm sort of switched between these phases, and in between that I punctuate it with like having a tidy up. I know that works for me, is like have a tidy. Now in the new phase, like as I say, got the box down and did all the stuff for the upcycling. Now the box has been tidied away and I won't think about that for a bit, and then I'll enjoy something else. And yeah, and I just sort of move into that different phase, and then I can come back round again. And listing, love a list. If I show you right now, I have written for my autumn winter, I wrote my list of what I wanted to try and do for like sew upcycling. This is my autumn winter dream list. Now I will not beat myself up or get upset if I don't do them. Some of them I might even decide I don't want to do them, but I quite like that sort of like brain dumping, like what am I thinking, what fabrics I've got, what am I thinking that I want to do. And then sometimes when I'm in a like mood, I go, oh yeah, let's make a Stella jogger in that, because like yeah, or let's cut that and that out. And I know we've talked quite a lot about, do you batch cut or do you do one project at a time? But see how I move through these phases. So like I'm like, do you know what, I'm in a mood to watch a movie, be in the same room as my other half, so I'm going to select those fabrics, just have a big batch cutting while we're watching something. Or do you know what, I've got a whole day today, which is an amazing privilege when that happens. I'm going to go for some crazy quilty thing and I make a massive mess as I do it, and then at the end of it I'm like, and clear that away now because I've gone on a big creative thing. So it'd be quite interesting to see if you explore your sewing in different ways. I would love to know if you've done any upcycling or whip finishing. Do tell me, did you finish any of your loitering works in progress that have been hanging around? I would love any tips on making the crochet blanket into a dress if you've seen or got any tips for me on that as well. If you're coming to Birmingham on Friday, I'd love to see you there and say hi. And I will be back this time next week with whatever I've planned. Not sure what it is, but I hope you get a chance to do something you love and enjoy very soon, and do leave me a comment because I love them. Catch you again soon. Bye.